And now, a piece of heaven is coming up here to share with us a talk today. And her name is Ellyn Dye. She's a lot of things, and all of them I know of are really wonderful and loving. She's a wonderful friend, teacher, mentor, and inspirer of many, many people. She's had her own near-death experience and shared with international near-death studies people on the Virginia Beach branch. And Ellyn, this is really in a nutshell here. She's an intuitive coach, and she does reconnective healing. And she publishes a newsletter you can find out about, and we have information if you need it, so you can find where to find her information online and sign up for her newsletters and see what she's up to with her offerings and her classes. And all I see right now is Ellyn Heaven Dye coming up here. A nice breath of heaven coming right on up here. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Hello. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Today we honor all the mothers of every variety, and there are many. There are birth mothers, adoptive mothers, foster mothers, stepmothers, godmothers, grandmothers, and they come in many types. Some are helicopter moms. Some are laissez-faire, hands-off moms. Some are really good at it, as if they were born to be mothers. Others sometimes struggle a little bit. So some of us have really, really wonderful relationships with mothers, and some of us work on it. The most important thing to me about mothers is they do two things, besides birthing us, of course. They anchor on the planet the unconditional love of home. It's the closest you're going to find on planet Earth to the energy in heaven is the love of a mother for her child. And we need that anchored on planet Earth. They also anchor the energy and the essence of the Divine Mother, which is a sacred energy that we can all work to anchor on the earth, whether we are actual mothers or not. Or if, like me, you're a mother of cats. It counts, it counts. So I got invited to speak about my NDE on May 14th, and I said, oh, okay, great. And then I realized it was Mother's Day. And if you haven't figured out that the universe has a really good sense of humor, you haven't been paying attention. It's very ironic that I'm speaking on Mother's Day because, frankly, I have felt mother challenged my whole life, mother deprived, cheated in a way. Because I had a birth mother who arranged an adoption. I had a wonderful adoptive mother who died when I was 12. When I was 15, I got a stepmother who already had 4 kids. I'd really like to say that I'm just so spiritual that we always had a wonderful relationship. But I would be lying if I said that. So the universe is kind of laughing, and I've noticed that they tend to shove us out of our comfort zone if we get too complacent, so I must have been getting complacent. So how do you work an NDE in with Mother's Day? I figured out a way. So I'm going to tell you about 3 different times in my life where my perspective about motherhood and mothers changed dramatically. The first was when I was 12 and my mother was in the hospital dying of cancer, and I was home in my bed, asleep. And I woke up because there was something in my room, and I looked at the bottom of the bed, and my mother was standing there, just as solid as anybody here. And we had a conversation, and she told me she loved me and everything would be fine. And then she kind of vanished. And I walked into the living room and told my grandmother, I think Mommy just died. And she said, oh, no, honey. And the phone rang, and it was my father calling from the hospital to say that she had died. So I pondered on that. Being 12, I really didn't understand what that was all about. But I knew it was significant, and I realized that a mother's love transcends time and space. That was amazing to me. She also, by doing that, put my feet firmly on the path of the seeker, because I realized there was more going on out there than they were teaching me in Sunday school, and I was going to find out what it was. So I studied and studied and studied and studied. And so about 23 years later, I was riding down the road, and another car was coming down the road, and we entered an intersection, and at the last minute, he turned left right in front of me. And I didn't even have time to register what had happened, because the next thing I knew, I didn't feel any impact, I didn't feel any pain. The next thing I knew was I was hovering up above my car about 12 or 15 feet. And it took me a minute to reorient myself and figure out what that thing was. And I felt expansive. I felt free. I felt like I had been in a straitjacket all my life and suddenly somebody had taken it off. And it was magnificent. And then I thought, if my body's down there, if I'm down there, but I'm here, who is I? I wasn't sure, but I liked it. Whatever was going on, I liked it. And I thought about a tunnel of light, and it suddenly showed up. And I could feel this energy of love and peace and joy and bliss and creativity and fulfillment. There aren't any words. And it beckoned me. I didn't have to move toward it. It kind of pulled me toward it. And I went through this tunnel, basking in this amazing energy. And I got to the end of that, and I was in this environment of light. And I immediately felt like I was home. And I thought, wow, I'm back. I'm back. I'm where I belong. I am standing in the stuff of which I was made. I feel more alive than I ever have. I'm home. And I thought, what the heck was that? Like, that was not good. But I'm home now, so that's okay. So I heard this ruckus, and I looked over, and there was this huge crowd of people. And they were all coming over. And of course, and I knew all of them. I knew every single one. And of course, the first person I saw was my adoptive mother. And she was so vibrant and alive. And she looked like she was about 30 years old, happy. And she came over and gave me a big hug. Now, I don't know how this happens in light bodies, but I knew I was being hugged, even though my body wasn't physically there. And she said, "I'm so proud of you." Now, I kind of said, "Well, I don't know what you're proud of me for, because I haven't really done anything." And she said, "Just getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other and doing your best is wonderful. It's brave. It's all you can do. And life on earth doesn't make it easy sometimes. And you did that, and I'm proud of you. And I have watched you and watched over you every single day. Every single day." That brought up a moment from the 1960s that I didn't want anybody to know about, but so she didn't care. She didn't care. She said, "I've been with you every day. I've celebrated your triumphs with you, and I have wrapped my arms around you in your despair and tried to comfort you. I've been there always, and I've only been just a thought away. So every time you thought of me, I was there. I wasn't there in person, because I could no longer do that, but I was there." So I saw some aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers, and we all greeted each other. There was this man standing over there, and I knew who he was, and I had one of those aha moments. He came over. This was my biological father that I had never seen, never met, had no information whatsoever on, and there he was. That was amazing in itself, but the fact that I knew him was really amazing. And as he was looking at me, and my mother was looking at me, and they're kind of like nodding and smiling, I said, "It was all planned. It was all planned, wasn't it? You guys planned this." My mother says, "No, we planned it." There was even a plan A and a plan B, depending on what my birth mother was going to decide with her free choice. So that was, if I wasn't reeling already, that did it. And we talked for what seemed like, a couple hundred years. And I also realized that, when we welcome a newborn into the earth plane, we have a big party and a celebration. But when we go home, there's a big party and a celebration there, even while the people we left behind are grieving. So 2 things occurred to me. One was that I was tired of seeing all this light. And I'm used to a 3-dimensional, landscape. And as I thought that, it was as if this hand came up and went like that, and it had finger paints or something, and suddenly everything was a landscape, and it was beautiful. And everything was really, really vibrant and alive, and the colors were colors that you never even see here. And all of my previous cats ran over to greet me. And so that was really nice. I loved that. And I also realized that it was great seeing them, but I was supposed to see somebody else. So there was this path that appeared, and I sort of walked down the path, admiring all of the flowers and the birds and the trees and the grass and everything that was so alive. I walked through a little kind of a forest and came out into this clearing that had this gazebo over there. One of those buildings that has a, top, ceiling, roof, a roof, that's the word, and columns, but no walls. And there were people standing in there. And I thought, I think I'm supposed to talk to them, but I don't know who they are. So I walked up, and I stood in the middle of a circle of 12 beings of light who were like between 10 and 15 feet tall. I'm 5'4", so you'd think that would be intimidating, but it wasn't, because they were, not only were they glowing, but they were like the embodiment of this unconditional love energy. And they stood and observed me, or regarded me. I think regarded is the better word. Excuse me 1 second. They regarded me as I stood there and felt uncomfortable, shame, feeling like I suddenly wanted to explain myself somehow. But I knew that wasn't necessary. And they let me know that wasn't necessary, because in that regarding, I was embraced in such love, I never wanted to leave. Such love. And we started talking, and as we started talking, I thought, I know these guys. I knew them before I was born. They are old friends and advisors to me. And I said, what the hell was that? It's nasty down there. People are mean. And it's like you have to work. You're always on this kind of hamster wheel, just trying to pay the bills and keep a roof over your head. And people are mean. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of love on that planet. And I don't think I want to go back. So because I asked what it was all about, they showed me. And I saw the whole history of humanity and where we're going. And I said, well, that's well and good, but how do I fit into that picture? So they showed me all of my past lives and things that I had learned, things that I had struggled to learn, things that I carried over from one life to the next. I mean, some of these lessons that we choose to do are pretty hard, and it can take many lifetimes to master them. I said, so, so why did I create that plan that had, the birth mother, the adoptive mother, the stepmother? None of it that really worked out. Was I just masochistic? I said, no. You were determined, because of something you wanted to do later in life, you were determined that you were going to master self-love in this life. Because you tried for many lifetimes and you just hadn't quite made it. And you were going to master it in this life or die trying. And I said, it almost killed me. And they said, almost. I think that was the first time I said, easy for you to say, you're not in a body. I say that to them a lot. But they showed me all of these lives. And all of these, when I'd had money, when I'd struggled, when I'd had this, that, or the other thing. I'd been male, I'd been female. All of this stuff. And I still wasn't convinced, so it was like, yeah, so what's your point? And I said, I still don't want to go back. I don't care. I'm home now, and I'm staying. I'm home, I'm staying. They said, that's okay. You've done it. You accomplished what you came here to accomplish. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And they said, you don't have to go back. And I'm like, now we're talking. This is good. And then in my head I heard, let us show what you could accomplish if you went back. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in the emergency room and started swearing. Why am I here? And the nurse came over and said, you're in the hospital. No, why am I here? You're in the hospital. You were in a car accident. No, oh, never mind. She just didn't get what I was talking about. So I'd like to say that I integrated that really quickly, but I didn't. It takes many, 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 many years to integrate an NDE. Because basically you feel like your whole life has been put in a blender. Somebody turned it on and left the top off so that all the pieces go up there. And you spend about 20 years like picking them all off the ceiling and trying to make sense of them and put them back together in some way. But in some way that goes with the new perspective I had of how life was supposed to be about self-love and love of others. It took me a while. And some of the stuff, some of the details, I really didn't remember, probably for the first 5, then 10 years. Things just kept slowly coming back to me as if a file in my head would open. But the one thing I always remembered from the emergency room onward was that my mother was with me every single day. Our mothers stay with us. And they're young and they're vibrant and they don't have jobs. And they have all the time in the universe for us. And they want to help us. All we have to do is ask. That was the second time my perspective changed about mothers. So over the years, I can say that my relationship with my stepmother got a little better, but, that's about it. And so, my birthday would roll around, And it was always in the same week as Mother's Day. So every Mother's Day, I had this kind of approach a void, very mixed emotions. Mostly I tried to kind of forget it, but I couldn't because of my stepmother. And I managed to get through it, but that was about it. Until about, 15 or 20 years later. I'm a slow learner. It took me a long time. In my head, I heard slow but sure. It was probably one Mother's Day, and I was sitting and pondering how I had been cheated for most of my life. I really can have a pity party when I put my mind to it. And probably that Rolling Stones song came on, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need." And I had an aha moment. I'm not sure I wanted to have an aha moment about Mother's Day. You know, hey, I'm human. But I had the aha moment. And suddenly I saw these images of all of these older women who, with no responsibility and no obligation, had come into my life and taken me under their wing and given me love and support and guidance. There was a whole series of them over most of my life, one after the other. There were neighbor ladies. There was the minister's wife. There were the church ladies. There were the mothers of my girlfriends. There was the school bus driver, who happened to be a woman. There were teachers. The secretary at my high school. And I thought, because a lot of times we don't see what's right in front of us when it's right in front of us. And sometimes we need to be nudged a little. And I thought, I had an abundance of mothers. I probably had more mothers than anybody else on the planet has had, because there was just like this series of women who, passed me along and took me under their wing. And I thought, wow, I think I need to redo my idea of what motherhood and mothering is. Because those women, as I say, they had no obligation and no responsibility for me. But they stepped up when they were needed. And they anchored that unconditional love for me. And they anchored the essence and spirit of the Divine Mother for me in the middle of the rest of their lives. They did that for me. So ever since then, I have a much better relationship with Mother's Day. Because now I can celebrate and honor and be grateful for the mother who gave me birth, the mother who adopted me, Yeah, even the stepmother, because we chose them all. And all of those women who mothered me. And they all anchored unconditional love and the Divine Mother. So as we celebrate Mother's Day and honor the mothers, let's be expansive. Let's look at our lives and think back. Were there other women in our lives who brought us that mother energy? Who helped us? Maybe an older sister or an aunt or somebody. We honor them all. We honor them all. So I can say to all of them and to all of you, thank you very much.